Let me ask you something. Do you want to be remembered or just noticed? Because there's a difference, a big difference. Most people chase attention. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. But very few people make an impact. Now listen carefully. Attention is temporary. Impact is lasting. Attention fades. Impact remains. So the question is not, how do I get people to notice me? The real question is, how do I make a difference? Now think about this. At the end of your life, people won't remember how busy you were. They won't remember how many things you tried. They will remember how you made them feel, what you stood for, what you changed. That's impact. And impact is not created by accident. It's created by intention. Now here's the truth. You don't need to be famous to make an impact. You don't need a huge audience. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to decide that your life will matter, that your actions will count, that your presence will leave something behind. Now listen, impact starts small. A word, a decision, a moment of courage. But repeated over time, those small moments become something powerful. Because success is predictable. It's not luck and it's not magic. It's built through consistency. And so is impact. Now let me ask you again. Are you chasing attention or are you building impact? Because one will fade and the other can last forever. So today, we begin a different journey. Not a journey of being seen, but a journey of being significant. Because your life has the power to change something. The question is, will you use it? Let me tell you something. You cannot change others until you change yourself. That's where it begins. Not out there, not with them, but with you. Now listen carefully. Most people want to make an impact, but they skip the foundation. They want to inspire before they are disciplined. They want to lead before they have direction. They want to teach before they have learned. And that doesn't work because you cannot give what you do not have. Now think about this. How can you teach confidence if you don't believe in yourself? How can you inspire discipline if your habits are inconsistent? How can you guide others if you are still lost? You can't, at least not in a way that lasts. Because real impact comes from authenticity, from truth, from experience. Now here's the truth most people avoid. Building yourself is hard. It requires discipline. It requires sacrifice. It requires honesty. You have to look at your habits. You have to face your weaknesses. You have to admit where you're falling short. And most people, I don't want to do that. They'd rather stay comfortable. They'd rather point outward instead of looking inward. But growth always starts within. Now listen, success is predictable. It's not luck and it's not magic. It's built on daily actions. And the same is true for impact. If you want to influence others, you must first influence yourself, your thoughts, your habits, your behavior, because the way you live becomes your message. Now let's go deeper. When you work on yourself, something powerful happens. You gain clarity. You understand your values. You understand your purpose. You understand what you stand for. And that clarity creates confidence. Not loud confidence, not forced confidence, but quiet, steady confidence. The kind people feel, the kind people respect. Now think about this. Who are you more likely to listen to? Someone who talks about success, or someone who lives it, someone who gives advice, or someone who sets an example? It's obvious. People follow proof. They follow consistency. They follow results. Now here's the key. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything, but you must be growing. You must be improving. You must be working on yourself every single day, because progress is what builds credibility. Now listen carefully. Self-development is not selfish. It's necessary. When you become better, you have more to give. More knowledge, more strength, more value. And that's how you impact others. Not by telling them what to do, but by showing them what's possible. Now imagine this. You become disciplined. You build strong habits. You stay consistent. You improve your mindset. What happens? People notice. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because your life reflects something different, something stronger, something real. And that's influence. Now let me give you something simple. Work on yourself, even when no one is watching. Improve your habits, even when no one is applauding. Grow quietly and let your results speak. Because when your life becomes the example, you don't need to convince anyone. Your presence does it for you. If you want to make an impact, start with yourself. Build your discipline. Strengthen your mindset. Raise your standards. Because the stronger you become, the greater your influence. And the greater your influence, the bigger your impact. So don't rush to change the world. Change yourself first. And watch how the world around you begins to change. Let me tell you something. Impact is not built in a day. It's not created in one moment of inspiration. It's not the result of one big action. It's built daily. Now listen carefully. Most people want quick results. They want to do something once and be remembered forever. But that's not how it works. Because impact is a result of repetition. Small actions done consistently over time. That's the formula. Now think about this. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can try for a week. But very few people stay consistent. And consistency is where the separation happens. Now here's the truth. It's not what you do occasionally that shapes your life. It's what you do every day. Your habits, your routines, your discipline. Because success is predictable. It's not luck and it's not magic. It's built through daily effort. And so is impact. Now listen, there will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you're tired. Days when you're distracted. Days when you question if it's worth it. And in those moments, most people stop. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right mood. They wait for inspiration to come back. But successful people, they don't wait. They show up anyway because they understand something powerful. Consistency creates trust. Trust in yourself. Trust from others. When you show up every day, you build reliability. You build credibility. And over time, that turns into influence. Now let's go deeper. Imagine two people. One acts when they feel motivated. The other acts every day. Who creates more impact? It's obvious. The one who stays consistent. Because consistency compounds. Just like interest in a bank, your daily efforts grow. Slow at first. Almost invisible. But over time, they multiply. Now here's the challenge. In the beginning, you won't see results. No recognition. No applause. No clear progress. And that's where most people quit. Because they expect immediate feedback. But impact requires patience. It requires faith. Faith that what you're doing today is building something for tomorrow. Now listen carefully. You don't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. You water it. You protect it. You nurture it day after day. And eventually, it grows. That's consistency. Now apply that to your life. Every day you improve yourself. You are planting a seed. Every day you show up, you are watering it. Every day you stay disciplined, you are protecting it. And one day, it becomes something powerful. Now here's the shift. Stop focusing on big moments. Focus on daily actions, small improvements, small steps, small wins. Because those small wins create big results. Now listen, Consistency is not exciting. It's repetitive. It's sometimes boring. It's often unnoticed, but it works. And that's what matters. Now let me give you something simple. Show up even when you don't feel like it. Do the work even when it's not exciting. Stay committed even when it's slow. Because impact is not about intensity. It's about consistency. Now here's the final truth. You don't build a meaningful life in one moment. You build it one day at a time. So be patient, be disciplined, be consistent, and trust that your daily efforts are creating something bigger than you can see. Because one day, all those small actions will come together. And that's when your impact becomes undeniable. Let me tell you something. If you want to make an impact, stop trying to be noticed. Start trying to be useful. Because attention is easy to get, but value is hard to give. Now listen carefully. Most people today are chasing attention. Look at me. Notice me. Listen to me. And for a moment, it works. They get likes. They get views. They get recognition, but it doesn't last. Because attention without value fades quickly. Now here's the truth. Impact comes from contribution, from helping others grow, from solving problems, from making someone's life better. That's what people remember. Not how loud you were, but how helpful you were. Now think about this. Who do you respect more? Someone who talks about themselves or someone who helps you improve? Someone who seeks attention or someone who adds value? It's clear. Value creates respect, and respect creates influence. Now let's go deeper. To add value, you must first think differently. You must shift your focus from what can I get to what can I give, from how do I look to how can I help. That shift changes everything, because when your intention changes, your actions follow. Now listen, you don't need to be perfect to add value. You don't need to know everything. You just need to share what you know. Help where you can. Give what you've learned, because someone is always one step behind you. Someone needs your insight. Someone needs your experience. Someone needs your perspective. And when you give that, you create impact. Now, here's something powerful. The more value you give, the more you grow. Because teaching strengthens your understanding. Helping others sharpens your skills. Giving expands your mindset. So it's not just about them. It's about you too. Now listen carefully. Value is not always big. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's a small word of encouragement, a piece of advice, a moment of support. But done consistently, those small contributions create something meaningful. Now think about this. If every day you made someone's life a little better, what would happen over time? You would build trust. You would build respect. You would build influence. And that's how impact grows. Now here's the key. Don't give value expecting something in return. Give because it matters. Give because it's right. Give because it makes a difference. Because true influence is earned, not demanded. Now let me give it to you straight. If you chase attention, you might be seen. But if you give value, you will be remembered. And there's a difference. Now here's the final truth. Impact is not about being the loudest. It's about being the most useful. So shift your focus. Look for ways to help. Look for ways to contribute. Look for ways to make a difference. Because the more value you give, the more influence you gain. And the more influence you gain, the greater your impact becomes. Let me tell you something. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. And people can feel that. They can sense uncertainty. They can sense confusion. They can sense when someone has no clear direction. Now listen carefully. Impact requires clarity. Clarity in what you believe, clarity in what you value, clarity in what you stand for. Because when you are clear, you become strong, not loud, not aggressive, but grounded. And that kind of strength creates influence. Now think about this. Who do people follow? Someone who changes their opinion every day? Someone who tries to please everyone? Someone who avoids taking a stand? Or someone who is clear, consistent, and certain about their values? It's obvious. Clarity attracts attention. Consistency builds trust. And trust creates influence. Now here's the problem. Most people are afraid to stand for something. Why? Because it comes with risk. The risk of being judged. The risk of being misunderstood. The risk of not being liked. So what do? They stay neutral. They stay quiet. They avoid strong opinions. They try to fit in everywhere. But in doing that, they lose something powerful. Their identity. Now listen, you cannot make an impact if no one knows what you stand for. You cannot inspire others if your message is unclear. You cannot lead if you are constantly adjusting yourself to match everyone else. Now let's go deeper. Standing for something does not mean being perfect. It means being intentional. It means deciding, these are my values. This is what I believe. This is how I live. And then living it consistently. Now here's something important. Not everyone will agree with you, and that's okay. In fact, it's necessary, because if everyone agrees with you, you probably don't stand for much. Real clarity creates division. Some people will connect with you. Some people will walk away, and both are important, because impact is not about reaching everyone. It's about reaching the right ones. Now listen carefully. When you are clear about your values, you attract people who align with them. You attract those who think like you, those who believe like you, those who are moving in the same direction. And that creates something powerful. Connection. Real connection. Not based on surface level approval, but based on shared purpose. Now think about this. If you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to anyone. But if you stand firm, if you stay true, if you remain consistent, you become memorable. And memorability is the foundation of impact. Now here's the truth. Clarity simplifies your life. It removes confusion. It removes indecision. It removes distraction. Because once you know what you stand for, your choices become easier. You know what to say yes to. You know what to say no to. You know what aligns and what doesn't. And that clarity creates focus. Now let me give you something simple. Decide your standards. Decide your values. Decide your direction. And don't compromise them easily. Because every time you compromise your values, you weaken your influence. You send a message that you're not consistent. And inconsistency breaks trust. Now listen, you don't need to be loud to stand for something. You don't need to argue or convince everyone. You simply need to live it day by day, decision by decision, because your actions will speak louder than your words. Now imagine this, a person who knows what they stand for, who lives by their values, who stays consistent no matter the situation. What do people feel? Respect, trust, confidence. That's influence. Now here's the final truth. If you want to make an impact, you must be clear. Clear about who you are. Clear about what you believe. Clear about where you're going. Because clarity is what sets you apart. It gives your life direction. It gives your message power. It gives your presence weight. So don't be afraid to stand for something. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to be clear. Because in a world full of confusion, clarity is powerful. And those who have it are the ones who make the greatest impact. Let me tell you something. Anyone can talk. Anyone can give advice. Anyone can share ideas. But talking alone does not create impact. Impact is not about words. It's about action. It's about showing up and doing what matters, even when no one is watching. Now listen carefully. People are not inspired by promises. They are inspired by proof. They are inspired by results. They are inspired by someone who lives what they preach. Think about this. Who do you respect more? The person who tells you to work harder, or the person who works harder than anyone else? The person who says, be disciplined, or the person whose life is a reflection of discipline? It's obvious. Action speaks louder than words. Now here's the truth most people overlook. If you want to make a real difference, if you want to leave a lasting mark, you must lead by example. Your life becomes the message. Your habits become the lesson. Your consistency becomes the proof. And people notice. They respect it. They follow it. Now listen, this is not easy. It requires integrity. It requires discipline. It requires courage. Because sometimes the actions that matter are not the popular ones. They are not easy. They are not comfortable, but they are necessary, and they are what make you memorable. Now think about this. Every day you have a choice. Will you just talk about the change you want to see, or will you embody it? Will you complain about the world, or will you improve yourself and show the way? Will you be a spectator in life, or a participant who makes a difference? The choice is yours. And here's the key. Small actions done consistently carry more weight than grand speeches said once. It's the quiet discipline, the unseen work, the everyday consistency that creates impact. Now let's go deeper. When you lead by example, you inspire trust. You inspire belief. You inspire action. People don't follow ideas. They follow examples. They don't follow words. They follow deeds. And when your actions align with your words, when your life reflects your values, you create influence that cannot be shaken. Now listen carefully. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to argue. You don't need permission. Your life, your example, does the work for you. And here's the beauty. The more you focus on being the example, the less you worry about recognition, the less you worry about approval, the less you worry about fame. Because impact is not measured by applause. It's measured by transformation, by the difference you make in the lives of others. Now imagine this, a life lived intentionally, a life where actions match words, a life that inspires others simply by being lived. That's the life that leaves a mark. That's the life that creates impact. That's the life people remember. So here's the final truth. If you want to make an impact, stop talking so much. Start doing. Lead by example. Show what is possible. Live the values you preach. Because real influence, real legacy, comes not from what you say, but from what you do. And when your life reflects your principles, you don't just inspire. You transform. You create impact that lasts. So remember this. Impact is not in your words. It's in your life. It's in the choices you make, the actions you take, the discipline you show, even when no one is watching. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for recognition. Stop waiting for the right moment. The right moment is now. The right moment is you showing up, doing the work, being the example. Because when your actions align with your words, when your life reflects your values, you don't just influence, you inspire. And the greatest impact is the one that quietly, steadily changes lives, one action at a time. So go forward. Lead by example. Do the work. And watch the impact of your life unfold. Because what you do matters far more than what you say.